Here we present to you His Excellency Olusegun Osoba.
I am Olusegun Osoba. I like to describe myself as a reporter because I have spent the best of my life as a journalist who specializes in reporting, particularly investigative reporting. I therefore describe myself all the time as a reporter.
Some, they say, are born great. Others have greatness entrusted on them. While there are still another group who, through dint of hard work, attain greatness. That is it with a quintessential gentleman, an eminent and thoroughbred professional journalist. He can be regarded as belonging in a select group of first-generation Nigerian journalists who, from a very humble start, rose to the top in the field of practice. Beyond journalism, he made adventure into politics. He is known to be one of the most versatile professionals in politics. His Excellency Olusegun Osoba was born in Osoba, the capital of Osun State, in 1939. His father, Jonathan Babatunde Osoba, worked for the USC Osoba branch. He had earlier served in his youth in the Native Authority Police in Abeokuta, while his mother, Elizabeth Remilekun Osoba, was a trader, a cultural lady of immense virtue. Olusegun Osoba's parents had 3 children. He was the firstborn. He belongs to the generation born during the time of the World War II. Segun Osoba had his primary education in Osoba. Growing up in Osoba was fun and was quite exciting as he developed an early interest in music and formed a small band with friends, though he didn't have a good voice in singing, but he beat the drums.
My father had worked in the north and was in Osoba working with the then major company in Nigeria, United, the UAC. And it's my mother was a trader, petty trader, and a housewife.
After his primary school education in 1955, he moved to Lagos to commence his secondary school education at the Methodist Boys High School in 1956.
I attended my secondary school in Lagos at Methodist Boys High School, Lagos, which is the second school founded in Nigeria. The first secondary school in Nigeria is the Semes Grammar School. Methodist Boys High School was the second secondary school founded in Nigeria in 1878.
Being in college was a different experience entirely. He was quite active and was a member of almost all the organizations formed to build students into becoming dynamic leaders. He was a member of Boy Scout, the Red Cross, and Cultural Society, Debating Society, involved in the Man O' War Bay leadership training, and he participated in sports. He was also appointed a school prefect in his final year. Interestingly, Segun Osoba is of the view that Osogbo and Lagos molded his character and prepared him for leadership role in his adult life. At 10 years, he was already a chorister at African Church Osogbo. He was also a boxer participating in local championship at the Osogbo Sports Club.
Well, Lagos was a big difference, different to what I had experienced in Osogbo. Of course, by then, I was a little bit more matured. Growing up in Lagos itself was another different kind of education. By 1954, as a young boy, we came from Osoba to Lagos to seek entrance admission to a secondary school. I had joined the local Boys and Girls Club. I joined the Alakoro Boys and Girls Club because I grew up in Napongo. At that time, there are some few Boys and Girls Club in Lagos. Olusegun Boys and Girls Club, Alakoro, Lafiaji, and some others. And at that time, the idea of Boys and Girls Club was to train us to learn how to serve our community, our society, and to an extent to imbibe character formation. And there we had some kinds of sports competition among the community in Lagos. For example, table tennis was perhaps the most popular game in Lagos at that time. And we used to play amongst different clubs and different community. It was from there I gained admission to Methodist Boys High School in 1956. To gain admission to a secondary school in those days was like going to the highest institution in the country.
It is interesting to note that in his days in Lagos, there were very few colleges and there were not up to 10. It was easy to find those who committed crime. Lagos was that land where everybody knew everybody.
There were a limited number of secondary schools in Lagos. I don't think that we were more than 10 secondary schools in the whole of Lagos. And we knew ourselves. I can talk of St. Gregory College was the farthest in Obalede. Then Baptist Academy, King's College, Methodist Boys High School, Sebes Grammar School. All of us were then on the island. Igbobi College was in its present site at Igbobi. Later, the Ahmadiyya Mission started the Ahmadiyya College. And later, the Ansarudeen Society also started the Ansarudeen College in Isolo. The girls' secondary school at that time were Holy Child, Methodist Girls High School, Reagan Secondary School, New Era, Queen's College, and all of us knew ourselves.
After his secondary education, he was gainfully employed for 2 years before he later joined the Daily Times of Nigeria under the leadership of late Pa Ajose, a thoroughbred professional, the man we classified as the father of journalism in Nigeria.
When I left school, I was a building inspector in Lagos City Council for 2 years. It was from Lagos City Council that I now moved to Daily Times in 1964, June 8, 1964. I was supposed to be in training in Daily Times. And part of the system of training there was we will go with a senior reporter for assignment. We will come back and write our own report to the expatriate that was in charge of training. By that time, I had done my A-level. So we were recruited by Jose as those who were about to gain admission to university. So 3 of us were recruited. Dipo Ajayi and late Professor Sunaiki. 3 of us were recruited. But along the line, my editor, Peter Nauru, found that on the recommendation of our trainer, found that my report was more comprehensive than those of my senior that we were going out with. As a result, the 3 months training was aborted and I was immediately assigned to be a cub reporter. Cub reporter then was a reporter who in the morning would go to different police stations, collect overnight report, and write stories out of the overnight report of police formation. Then petty stealing, robbery, whatever report they got overnight will be tendered, and from there we follow up the story. And Nauru found that I was so dedicated that I immediately took me out of being a cop reporter, and I was immediately assigned to cover magistrate courts. So within 3 months, I had graduated from being a trainee cop reporter to being a judicial reporter. That was how I started my career.
It was within this period he then attended the University of Lagos, where he had his diploma. 2 years after his diploma program, he went for another journalism training. This time around, it was a fellowship program at the prestigious Commonwealth Press Union in London.
I went into University of Lagos on a special diploma course organized by the International Press Institute. It was sponsored by the International Press Institute and facilitated by University of Lagos. At that time, there was only one journalism training school in the whole of Africa in Nairobi. Alhaji Jakode invited the International Press Institute, which is made up of editors and publishers all over the world, to come and replicate what they were doing in Nairobi in Lagos. And in collaboration with the University of Lagos, I was one of the first set of people admitted for the diploma course, a session diploma course in the University of Lagos. It was supposed, at that time, the British system didn't have a formalized training for journalists. You were trained on the job. It was the American system that had Department of Mass Communication in the universities. I think Olusegun was the first to introduce mass communication because the pattern is served on the American system.
The program also took him to Oxford University, where he had some lectures. Between 1970 and 1971, Olusegun Osoba also had another rare privilege of academic exposure at the School of Journalism, Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana, in the United States.
I was the first to be sent to this IPI course in the University of Lagos. After that, I was sponsored by the Daily Times on a scholarship by the Commonwealth Press Union in England, where I spent another 9 months, part of which took me to Oxford University for a course. When I returned from the Commonwealth Press Union training in UK, by 1971, I was again sponsored for other full session in Indiana University. Indiana University has one of the best Department of Mass Communication in the UK. So I was at Indiana University for other session in Bloomington. To crown it all, I was also sponsored to do a 1-year fellowship program at Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1974.
His Excellency Olusegun Osoba had a rare opportunity of being the best trained and most exposed journalist of his era to some professional trainings locally and abroad, and in some of the best institutions in the world, like the Ivy League Harvard. As a core investigative distinct journalist, His stories made several headlines, such as the Murtala Muhammad School. In 1975, Alhaji Ajose announced his appointment as the editor of Daily Times. It was a merited promotion in recognition of his undoubted dynamism and good judgment in the finest traditions of journalism.
I have been promoted to be the editor of the Lagos Weekend. The Lagos Weekend there was a society newspaper for the Daily Times, and that gave me the opportunity of roaming around virtually every nightclub in Lagos to write society stories in the Lagos Weekend. And from the Lagos Weekend, I moved to Sunday Times as deputy editor. Yeah, and then from being deputy editor of the Sunday Times, I became deputy editor of the Daily Times, from where I was promoted as editor in 1975.
Olusegun Osoba was seconded to the Herald newspaper in Ilorin, Kwara State in December 1975 as general manager. Like any other notable personality, he had challenging times, the usual intrigues in workplaces, and most times there were just wrong submissions and assertions. And as someone with a strong hand of God around his life journey and activities, he has always been vindicated when they plotted against him. Olusegun Osoba, in his personal memoir, narrated his close shaves with death. These were fundamentally during the dark days of the military. Unknown to him, his name was on the list of those marked out for elimination. Among them were the owner of the Guardian newspaper, Mr. Alex Ibro, Pa Abraham Adesanya, Bolaige, and Osoba himself. Unarguably, a killer group stayed in his house all day, and how he was traced along Lagos-Shagamu Expressway. But in all this, miraculously, he was able to escape. This no doubt points to the hand of God in his life. As a journalist of repute, he had several brushes with security agents. The first was during the Nigerian Civil War. The simple challenge was that he had reported with a rider, head of state, excited, very happy about 6 hitch-free unscheduled visit and departure. Headline as common as this made the security agents to come to the office to arrest him and made him go through interrogation, subsequently detained and released the following day. Olusegun Osoba noted that his crime was that the headline embarrassed the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon. On the civil war that broke out, His Excellency Olusegun Osoba was away in England on a Commonwealth Press Union journalism program when Colonel Odumegu Ojukwu announced the secession and the birth of the Republic of Biafra. It was a war he'd never wanted, so while in Britain, he followed the war in papers with great anguish. The day he arrived from England, he was arrested. They believed that as a journalist, he had too many contacts which could be detrimental to the interest of Nigeria. Back then, Alhaji Ajose secured his release the following morning. He had opportunity to be at the war front. An example was when Enugu was captured. He was among the journalists that were sent to cover the event. When Port Harcourt was captured, he was one of those sent to cover the event. Olusegun Osoba, shortly after his appointment as editor at Daily Times, he was appointed as general manager, Kwara State Printing and Publishing Corporation in 1975. Essentially, he turned the Nigerian Herald around to become a national paper with very striking reports which he distinctly spearheaded, such as being the first journalist to see Colonel Buka Suka Dimka, the mastermind of the coup, in chains when he went on tour. Dimka had been arrested and was being held in police headquarters in Enugu. That story was the very detailed report that also influenced the Herald newspaper to be a national newspaper.
I'm a man about town. And journalism gave me the opportunity. I'm not a structured person. As a reporter, I didn't have a permanent seat in the newsroom. I didn't have any enclosure. You get to this newsroom, any available chair. And that's my typewriter that I bought, the first typewriter I bought in 1964. You take the available seat and do your job, and as soon as you finish your story, you're out again. You are free to go and pursue your life. There was freedom. There was challenge. I can't remember. I just fell for the profession until tomorrow.
On the other hand, too much interference with the editorial content was beginning to have its toll on the activities of a paper, as late General Agbasika Ene would always like to interfere with the editorial content. As a general manager, Herald, he noted the grave danger to the business of journalism and the little ethnic politics, especially as he was not a native of the state. It became quite challenging as the media conflict with Agbasika Ene, who took over from the Kwara State Governor, Colonel Ibrahim Taiwo, raged on. Interference was so much. Late Agbasika Ene wanted the Herald newspapers to localize its content, and for every well-tutored journalist, such major interferences were inimical to good journalism, and he had to withdraw his services from the Herald newspapers.
There was a request that I be seconded to the Nigerian Herald, because at this time the government had taken over the Daily Times, and I was seconded to Herald, and I went there to prove all the people who are making all kinds of gossips about me wrong. I got to the Herald. Herald was a village newspaper, virtually on the deathbed. And I got there, revived the paper, turned into a national newspaper, became a serious challenge to the data, which was the paper in Nigeria then. And because I was in the center of Nigeria and Ilorin, was centrally positioned, I tackled the market in the north in Kaduna, tackled the market in the east, Enugu and Co, and tackled the market in Lagos. And the Herald became a national newspaper.
While in Ilorin, he met with Chief Obafemi Awolowo in a private meeting in the first half of 1977. He was on a tour of the entire country, trying to put together his committee of friends, which was the prelude to the formation of the Unity Party of Nigeria. It was why Awolowo was released from prison by General Gowon in 1967. He became close to him as he was assigned to cover his tour around the western region.
Papa Obafemi Awolowo is a legend, a leader, a teacher, and a great hero. First of all, Papa was a disciplinarian. He was a stickler to timekeeping. He was a man who managed his time meticulously. He was highly misunderstood. He was a first-class Democrat. In my close relationship with him, from the time he was released in prison in 1966, we were very, very close to the time he was deputy to General Gowon and Minister of Finance. I related closely with him. He's a good listener, a man who recognizes dissenting views, no matter how young you are. He will listen to what you have to say.
He was appointed as the general manager of Sketch newspaper. As soon as he was appointed, came the series of campaigns and industrial actions against his appointment. The campaigns were on that he was on the payroll of the Unity Party of Nigeria and had promised Chief Awolowo to use the sketch to further his political ambition to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The then head of state got to know about it and ordered that the appointment be stopped, while the board felt reversing the appointment will be embarrassing. Luck, however, came his way as the UPN won the governorship elections in the owner state of the sketch, which are Oyo, Ogun, and Ondo, so they all agreed that his appointment be revisited, and that was how he began work as the general manager and chief executive officer of Sketch.
This Sketch then was also on his deathbed. It was a big challenge again. We revived it. In each of these papers, I never depended on government subvention. We were using revenue generated by the company to run the paper, and that gave us some reasonable independence, even though there were harassment, pressure. We were working under the military, and the military don't tolerate any form of dissent or opposition. But we managed, and that's what I always tell my colleague when they say that our era was era of the military. They should praise us that we were able to produce newspaper against military dictatorship. We were able to produce newspaper that readers were ready to embrace, that readers were ready to spend their money to buy.
Notable headline stories were the arrest of Alhaji Shugaba, who was manhandled and deposited across the Nigerian border into Niger Republic by Immigration Service of the NPN-led federal government on the excuse that he was not a Nigerian but from Chad Republic. Shugaba was the majority leader of Great Nigeria People's Party, GNPP. The sketch under Olusegun Osoba adequately reported the case of Alhaji Balarabe Musa, the then governor of Kaduna State, elected on the platform of People's Redemption Party, PRP. He was being harassed by the State House of Assembly, where the ruling party, NPN, had a majority and was eventually impeached. His impeachment boosted sales due to the editorial independence they enjoyed from owner states. With his large leadership prowess, the workers cooperated, and these were workers who a few months earlier protested against his appointment.
Moved from era to Sketch, turned the Sketch around too, and Sketch became a major national newspaper. And when the civilians were kicked out of office, I was invited back to the Daytimes, and Daytimes was then virtually a political paper under the Shagari government, turned into MPN newspaper. So Tony Momo and I came in, and Tony, being an insider, weeded out the entire political reporters and journalists who were in the Daytimes, but because the politically inclined people had seized power there. And so we sanitized the place and turned the Daytimes around, and we were paying dividend back to shareholders. That has been my career in journalism. I'm lucky to be one journalist who had the opportunity to manage three successful major newspapers in Nigeria. The Nigerian Herald, the Sketch, and Daytimes, all the three of them profitable establishment and institution in my time.
As a journalist and a general manager of Sketch, he noted that Awolowo exposed him to his political machinery by making him and two others observer members of all organs of his political party, including the National Executive Council of the Unity Party of Nigeria, as well as members of all his inner caucuses. His Excellency Olusegun Osoba's friendship and political tutelage under the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo and his eventual plunge into partisan politics as he presented is clear that, like many others, The lifestyle and political ideology of the late sage Awolowo influenced his politics and stint in government.
I became deeper in politics by the time the Second Republic came on stream, while I was working for Sketch. And I became more involved with Chief Bisi Onabanjo and Chief Bola Ige, and of course with Papa Obafemi Awolowo, who now made us a member of all the organs of the Unity Party of Nigeria. That was how I became a semi-practitioner. But by 1989, when I was about to leave the Times, there were a series of pressure. You will not believe it, including a man like my brother, Prince Nduka Obagbena. He came to me and said, well, you have to go into politics. And I had a friend who was so passionate about it, Chief Bukola Okunowo. He kept saying that he is also from Ogun State, that I should take a shot at the governorship of Ogun State.
Osoba became friends with Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, the presumed winner of the 1993 presidential election. Abiola, though his kinsman, whose battle to become president, he was the champion even at the risk of his own life before and during the Abacha military dictatorship. He became a fugitive under the repressive regime of the military headed by Sani Abacha. He fought in the trenches as a member of a National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, for the validation of the June 12, 1993 presidential election victory of Chief MKO Abiola. History will be kind to him as a patriot, a lover of Nigeria and the people of Ogun State. He was noted as one that contributed immensely in moving Ogun State forward, as he first became governor in 1992, and he succeeded much in the development of the educational sector in his time. His core interest while governor of Ogun State was impacting on the lives of the people. Olusegun Osoba will be remembered for promoting accountability and transparency as his top priority.
I've been somebody with accountability in your own private life. To go to public life, you must have some discipline in terms of how you manage your resources. You have to have discipline in your own life. When you are disciplined and you get to governance, for example, I use my car as governor, both first coming and second coming. I lived in my own personal house, not maintained by government. So I kept myself to the standard that I was and standard I will be after leaving office. So in office and out of office, my transition was very simple. Because I live in my house, I rode my car, and I allowed that to impact on those working with me. 2, great efficiency. As a journalist, I kept the idea of deadline even in government. Every file I treated, no file stays overnight on my table. Transparency starts where everything is documented. Everything is in file. I don't allow my commissioner to come and queue in front of my house, carrying files, lobbying me and say, "Oh God, sign this, sign your file, express your opinion. I will express my opinion in file. I don't have to disagree with you. I am the governor." Even the ESCO is governor in council. The final authority rests with me. The buck stops at my table. And I took full responsibility. So when I left office and my successor went after me, there was one lawyer Shofu, who was used to now start putting advert in the paper of some so-called infraction by Osoba. And EFCC invited me, and I just told them to produce documents. That everything I did was in file. And by the end of the day, all day, They all shook my hand and said they were very happy that nothing was there that I did that was not documented.
While in government, he had seasoned executive council members and this assisted him to succeed much. He spoke on his days as governor and what they did differently.
When I was campaigning in 1991, because it was an open ballot system then, I went to virtually every village in Ogun State, and I had practical knowledge of the situation on ground. I had practical knowledge of the state of living of the inhabitants of Ogun State. So that when I became governor, I did not need to do another tour or any assessment tour anymore. I had knowledge of what was the best that our people wanted at every level, in every village, in every community. Take for example, Ijebu-Ode. Ijebu-Ode was then under the siege of water tankers. The tanker owners disrupted water flow, broke pipes, and I went frontally to tackle the water system in Ijebu-Ode. Started fixing all the pipes, started fixing all the equipment, and when I was ready, I got the women to go after the tanker drivers. And there was heavy demonstration, there was heavy resentment, highly organized, and we forced the tanker drivers off the street of Ijebu-Ode and we restored water. It's because I had knowledge when I was campaigning. Most of the roads I did, for example, from Ilishon to Agoiwoye, there was no road. The road was not multiple, but I went on it and I saw that Awolowo's bridges of the 50s were still there. So what I did, instead of wasting money building expensive bridges, I tailored the road along the old Awolowo path and made it portable to Agoiwoye, University of Olusegun in Agoiwoye. My successors who decided to now do new bridges, till today they have not completed one. Because I know abroad there are bridges that are about 200 years old. The only thing is you limit traffic. I never abandoned even what was Awolowo's bridges. That was my philosophy. I'll give you another example. I was focused. My focus was rural development. I didn't know that we would get to the point where we will have information technology, internet available all over the country, and where people can sit at home and work at home and produce, run your businesses. So in my time, I decided to focus on rural development. That's opening the road. All the roads I did in Ogun State are still standing. An example is the road I did from Idiroko then to Ipokia in 1992. It's still solidly there. And I then electrified virtually most of the villages in Ogun State, and they are still there. Because today, if you have power supply in your village and you have internet, there is no need for you to leave your village and come to Lagos.
Segun Osoba was elected governor of Ogun State in 1999 and was there till 2003. He remains one of the most profound chief executives of Ogun State. When he was sworn into office on May 29, 1999, the state was virtually indebted to every sector and stakeholder: civil servants, primary and secondary school teachers, pensioners, contractors, and there was anguish from citizens, pain and tension. He devoted about 70% of the revenue in the first 6 months in settling debts.
There was nothing due to any civil servant. I never owed all outstanding. When I first came back to office in 1999, the military left 6 months salary unpaid and 9 months of local government salary. I cleared it. Leave bonus were paid. As you want to go on leave, you get your leave bonus. Today, I can't imagine how you can make civil servant, you owe civil servant up to 9 months, 1 year, and you're able to sleep. I can't believe it.
Olusegun Osoba is a prudent manager of resources. To conserve funds, he cut down running costs to the ministries and departments. He deferred the purchase of vehicles for the governor's office, state commissioners, and other principal officers of government to the second year of his administration. He deployed his private utility vehicle as the governor's official car.
We should reduce the cost of running our government on all front, both in the executive and in the National Assembly. There are too many hangers on, too many aids. People just carry bags. In my time as governor, the 2 times I was governor, I never had special advisors, domestic advisors, advisors on women affairs, advisors on mode of dress, all kinds of stupid. I never had a chief of staff. All those that worked with me were civil servants, permanent secretaries who were grounded in the system.
Olusegun Osoba lived in his private residence. As governor, had no chief of staff or deputy chief of staff. The governor's lodge in Abuja had just 1 car and a few staff to keep the place running.
For example, I used my car as governor, both first coming and second coming. I lived in my own personal house, not maintained by government. So I kept myself to the standard that I was and standard I would be after leaving office. So in office and out of office, my transition was very simple. Because I live in my house, I rode my car, and I allowed that to impact on those working with me.
The government had a well-planned and defined tender, contract award, and monitoring process. It was during his time as the governor of Ogun State that he commenced the computerization of the entire civil service. In the year 2002, he introduced the direct lodgement of all government's revenue into designated banks and stopped the payment of salaries by cash and mandated all employees to bank accounts.
We create so many level of political offices. In some cases, you find that in some states there are up to 10,000 political office holders. I didn't have that kind of thing at all. As I said, I never had chief of staff. I never had personal assistant. All of them that did the job of chief of staff and pastor, they were all civil servants that were in service. Again, I computerized the payment and the staff audit was done. And payment of staff salary, we got all civil servants to now open a bank account. Rather than pay cash where it can be manipulated, we are paying to the account in banks. It was part of sanitization, but by the time I left, everything went in wire again. All we need in this country is, with modern day system, you can computerize all your system and be able to monitor it successfully. So the money we spend on over-bloated running of government can be put into services.
It is on record that throughout his tenure as governor of Ogun State, he never tampered with local government allocation. His Excellency Olusegun Osoba owes this credit to the good people of Ogun State, its dedicated and professional civil service committed and responsible members of the cabinet, political associates, and dependable direct staff of the governor's office who were all civil servants. During his tenure, he signed over 5,000 outstanding land titles called Certificate of Occupancy and fast-tracked the processes of obtaining governor's consent and issuance of Certificate of Occupancy for developers.
When I became governor, there were 6,000 outstanding certificates of occupancy. Within the first 2 months, I signed all the 6,000 certificates because those who apply for CFO, certificate of occupancy, perhaps wanted to use it to get mortgage, to do so many things that will help the economy. So I will appeal to our professionals. Some of them should get involved. Let us sanitize the political situation, the political system.
He ended the ritual of weekly State Executive Council meetings, only ensuring that meetings were held when there were matters to be treated. He spoke about the issue of corruption and the security challenges.
Look at our security. Security is totally local. Each neighborhood know themselves. How can you pose a Kanuri man from Maiduguri to come and police Lagos? Where does he know in Lagos? You need somebody who grew up in Ajegunle, who grew up in Mushi, who grew up in Isaneku, to police when they know themselves. When I was young in Lagos, when the wheel cover is missing, the local people know who and who to call, and they retrieve it immediately. Police had to be reduced to the barest, to the lowest level. Evans would not have survived keeping people in first stack if there were local police in first stack. But because people don't care about their neighbors, Evans was able to keep people right inside first stack, and the neighbor didn't know what was going on. So policing, so I can tell you, and all over the world, over-centralized system collapses at the end.
On the clamor for restructuring, Osoba noted that one of the cardinal campaign points of the All Progressives Congress, APC, was restructuring, and as a chieftain of the ruling party, he bears his mind.
Governor Olusegun, when he was chairman, set up a committee under El-Rufai to write a report on restructuring. And I can tell you that the report came to the highest level of our party national caucus, where it was discussed. What is left is we are working to make sure we take this report to National Assembly, let it be discussed, debated, and I want to beg everybody, as the National Assembly has decided to now work on the Constitution. What is wrong let us come together, produce a good document, put it before them, and challenge them into taking action on it. But to say that we must condemn, we must not engage, we must engage every aspect. Our leaders who are acting as pressure groups should continue. Whatever opportunity available to work on it should be taken. We have to use the political system, which they say they don't want to hear about, to start it. Even in USSR, Michael Gorbachev, when he was restructuring, perestroika. The meaning of perestroika in English is restructuring. When he restructured USSR, he went to the People's Congress. We just have to learn to come together and get more involved. If we digitalize our voting system, there will be sanitization into those who are going to emerge, and engage those who are going to emerge to subscribe to the structure. I don't see, people don't want to hear it. President Buhari has no executive power to convoke the National Conference. He cannot, by a stroke of the pen, rewrite the Constitution. I have been telling them, rather than personalizing the issue, engage us as APC member, as a party that inserted into our manifesto true federalism. Force us to implement our manifesto. If you like, form a political party, fight us. If we digitalize our voting system, incidents of money, vote buying, rigging will reduce, and better characters will emerge. We should be proactive and influence the political system. Stop the monetization of voting, and support genuine patriotic people to emerge as in every aspect of our elective offices. The central will at some point give. The center will not hold. And whether we like it or not, some of the people in the north who are saying no to regionalism, when oil is drying, the oil is becoming less fashionable. We are now, the world is producing electric powered vehicles. Shale oil is becoming fashionable. Oil consumption is getting lower and lower. The future in terms of mineral is in the north. I want to see what they would now say when gold and all that high pricing mineral, when we start exploiting them, whether they will not tell us that we should reverse to what they are now opposing. I'm confident that whether we like it or not, we will have to go back to our original system before independence, regional system, which is working very well in Canada.
He also speaks on the hike in electricity tariffs and the removal of fuel subsidy.
I will support the removal of subsidy on one condition, that whatever trillion that they have been spending, which over the years I do not find it transparent. If only we now immediately put all those money on infrastructural development to average of 18-hour power supply every day. In most cases, 24 hours for some days. I cannot believe it. If you now ask me to pay, I will pay, but then I will now control my consumption. No AC will ever be on unless when I need it. No light will be on unless I need it. So I will reduce my consumption, discipline myself, and pay whatever tariffs you give to me.
Where do we go from bare ribbon actualities makes the documentary heavy as Nigeria marks its 60th year amidst the global pandemic of coronavirus, a kind of silent war against humanity. Quite frankly, COVID-19 has come to alter the world order and expose major economies hitherto seen to be vibrant and strong, to be like the avocado pear, which can only be humbled by just a small sun ray.
Well, COVID has changed our life pattern and can never be the same again. Since March, I don't think I've been out of this house for more than 2 or 3 times. And COVID has taught me a lot of lessons. At the height of COVID, only one steward made contact with me and my wife. Nobody was coming into my room. As a scout, I now started making my bed myself. I started cleaning my water closet. I started cleaning my wash and basin, pour in powder and rub it off myself because I reduced contact. Because at that time, we had to reduce total contact to survive. And at the age of 81, a lot of lessons have been learned. There is going to be total recession all over the world. We should get ready for recession. Cut down on our lifestyle, reduce expensive lifestyle, and stay basic. The government must now put more money into infrastructural development. Once we do that, we will evacuate products from our villages easily to the market. For example, we have an area in Enugu State, Alapakoni. When you go there, oranges rot away because the roads are not good. There is no reason why fruits, very vital. If we create road network, we'll be able to evacuate our food. In the olden days, there was a Dogo train. They used to ferry vegetables from Yewa area of Ogun State to Lagos every day. fresh fruit, fresh vegetable. We need to, and encourage our young ones to embrace agriculture. America is great because America can feed itself and still sell grains to the rest of the world.
On what he thinks about Nigeria at 60, he is quite frank with his views, which can just be left for the people to digest and make their own deductions.
I'm 81, 60 years of my life. I had the best in my time. Nigeria is not getting the best that I would have wished for Nigeria. For me, I'm not pretentious. I'm not going to say that all is well with Nigeria. I hope that the State University will teach us a lesson to learn that for the survival of this country, power must devolve from the center to the regions, to the states. If that can start on the state anniversary of our so-called independence, of what I call partly bondage, then I pray that God will have had part of my prayer.
Let us give it to His Excellency Olusegun Osoba. With very many recognitions and awards, he is the Akinrogun of Egbaland. He was also given a national honor, Commander of the Niger CON. He is a rare professional talent, a conscientious leader, a consummate patriot and champion, who, though badly bruised, will certainly run away with the diadem as one who came, saw, and conquered. Bravo, His Excellency Olusegun Osoba.